Special edition, rising up on an off day. So we thought. Of course, Super Bowl 59 is 1 week from today. However, the business rolls on, and that's the business of sports. And that's what we do on The Gambler. We give it to you with everything: college football, NFL, Major League Baseball, hockey, EPL. And of course, over on the hardwood, we do a pretty damn good job over there. Sean Barnard covers the 76ers and the NBA. And look, people are just waking up to this right now. There are plenty of people out there going, same reaction that we had at midnight. So let's get right to it. Of course, Luka Doncic is now a Los Angeles Laker. It's real. It happened 7 hours ago, 8 hours ago now. And we're going to talk about it from every end. For me, Sean, let's start with the reactions. I will just tell you, last night, I literally was on the move all day yesterday. I bright and early in the morning workout, then did a DJ party down on Main Street, was there for 5 hours, came home, squeezed in a 20-minute nap before I went to the Wings game, got to the Wings game, powered up a Red Bull, fired through, had a great game, whatever, got home, one eye open, I'm eating something, and I see the Lakers and LeBron James do his triple-double at MSG. I'm like, that's great. We're texting the group, talking about Redick, and that was it. Like, I was done. I was toast. The crash happened. I was ready to pass out. And then all of a sudden I get a text message from you. I mean, it was still late. But I get a text message from you. You go, do you want to record in the morning? And I'm like, dude, I didn't even write this, but I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, I didn't watch any hoops last night. Like, all right, Sixers are playing. Cool. I could tee you up on that. But I said, like, I was ready to text you, like, I'm in, but this is just so you know, like, I got to catch up. What are we talking about? And then I see like the Gambler chat. And then I'm like, wait a minute. This trade took place? Like, this is real? The reactions are pretty much, the same from a lot of people that were recording videos. Like, no one could believe that this is really the case. So, Sean, your reaction, what the hell were you doing?
Yeah, I had got home, had spent a long day at our very own radio station that I did the shift in the morning for the sports here, there, and everywhere. Did me and Mark show for the tough cover, and then was cranking out articles for DraftKings until 8. Headed home, watched the end of the Lakers game here, the Lakers Knicks, and then I was getting ready to fall asleep myself, scrolling through my phone, and all of a sudden we get a tweet notification from Shams Charania here, and I think it is quite telling for what an idiotic move this is, based on the immediate reaction regarding one of the most legitimized reporters across all of sports. The universal reaction was, this guy must have been hacked. And that was not the case, that Luka Doncic is officially heading to the Los Angeles Lakers. I still feel like there's some part of the puzzle that we're missing, that there feels like there has to be more to the story than we know at this current point. But the reality of it is, it does feel like the Mavericks just kind of got sick of some of the conditioning issues with Luka Doncic, some concerns with how serious he is taking things. I think that's insane. I get it. I understand Luka is not perfect, but what he is a top 5 player in the NBA at 25 years old. This is going to be a dude that is going to be in the running for MVP on an every year basis for the remainder of his career. And you gave up on this guy in a quote unquote win now move for probably the third most injury prone big man in the NBA, who is playing great basketball, but it's kind of unbelievable to buy in that this is built to last. And while, again, like Anthony Davis has had an incredible year, and really the past 2 years has been excellent, he's a great basketball player. He's not Luka Doncic, and he's not going to be carrying himself into the next decade the way Doncic will. So I can't believe that it happened. There's a lot of angles we can go with this, but certainly pure shock was my immediate reaction.
Yeah, and a lot of people are checking in. Love to get you involved. This isn't for the radio station. This is for us right here, right now. And we will talk a little bit about the Sixers at the end. We'll tee that up. But, man, this is all about Luka going to the LA Lakers at 25 years old. It still just does not seem real. I clicked on it and saw, like, the profile picture. It's now on ESPN.com. I sent it on, like, that. He's an LA Laker. Yeah, it's for me, Sean. It starts and ends for the people. Like, look, like you said, everyone's going to dissect that however they want. But if you're talking about anything other than the Dallas Mavericks and Luka, then I don't think you're fully grasping what it is. Like, this has nothing to do with Anthony Davis. This has nothing to do with LeBron James. This has nothing to do with the Lakers. This is all about the Dallas Mavericks and what the hell did they just do? From a 76ers fan perspective, you're talking about Luka in a lingering calf issue, a back issue, conditioning issue, just went to the NBA Finals last year. Just dropped
Last
70
year.
last year.
Last year.
Like, this super. I can't wait. Like when I was looking forward to sitting down with you, you know the X's and O's, you know the details about these contracts better than most. So I really can't wait to pick your brain. We're not going to get into that now, but the super max, that whole deal. Like over the next 5 years, if you had Luka, you're not debating whether or not you can win an NBA championship. You're probably asking yourself, can we get multiple? If you got Luka for the next 5 years, you're probably saying that he is going to be an MVP of the league multiple times. Like, this is just madness to the point that almost like, does the commissioner have any, like, this doesn't connect. It just doesn't connect. And from the Mavericks perspective, I just have to ask, like, what are they thinking, Sean? What are they thinking? This is such a fireable offense because you didn't open it up. If you, like, at the very least, if you want to get rid of Luka, how do you not open it up?
Bidding war. Yeah.
How does Rudy Gobert fetch what he fetches? How do these contracts happen with these draft picks? 4 number 1 picks. Like, how do you not open it up for Luka? Dude, that's a fireable offense right then and there. The word that we're getting is that, like, this had to happen really fast because it didn't seep out. I don't know what your take is on that, but like, the owners of the Dallas Mavericks need to sign off on this. How did they allow this to happen, Sean?
Yeah, it seems like it happened super quick. And to your point here, like, I'm not diminishing what the outlook for the Lakers is for this season, but this is absolutely the mindset of we've got the next generation of a Lakers superstar. This is the next face of the franchise, and he's every bit of that talent. But from a Mavericks perspective here, my brain certainly went when this first came out to Luka Doncic must have requested a trade. What I think is probably the reality, and it's been quite reported, Mark Stein was the first to say that he did not request a trade. He's as surprised about this as anyone. I think there had to be some probably, he's eligible for a supermax this summer, whether it was the organization being shy about giving that to him, whether it was some hesitancy on Luka's part to accept that. I feel like there had to be some difficult conversations there, but it does seem like most of the reports are indicating that that was heading in the right direction, that they were heading down that path there. So I truly can't really grasp why that would be the case. And to your point, I do think in general, it's easier when you're making this caliber of move for it to be a quick and seamless process, that it's not drawn out. We're not having the Jimmy Butler conversations or guys like that it lingers on forever. But Luka Doncic is not Jimmy Butler, man. Like, this is a completely different caliber of talent when having this. So I think they went with the get this done seamlessly, kind of save ourselves PR wise, that this doesn't drag out and kind of seep into the organization. But you're absolutely right that if you had opened this up to a bidding war, I have no clue how high the target could be made, like how high that price point could reach. Like, for example, here, Bill Simmons did his trade value rankings as far as he goes down the league, takes into account the contract, their age, all those type of things. Luka Doncic finished 4th on his list in the completely untouchable category. Obviously not the case because he's now moving, but I do think that goes to show as far as what the perception of Luka is and what the reality is for what he is as a player. So it makes zero sense to me from the Mavericks perspective. I saw the quote from Nico Harrison, their GM, about how defense wins championships, and that's the way that they want to play. They're buying into that. I think that's a very unnecessary shot and really just a bad look all around, to be perfectly honest. So if you're a Mavericks fan waking up today, I have no clue how you can even really continue on with rooting with this team.
SGA, Wemby, and who's the third?
For
untouchable.
I forget, actually. That's a good question. I forget off the top of my head. I'll pull that up.
All right. Yeah. Well, who am I missing? It's, look, we're all focused on this. It's obviously not, I don't know, man. Luka got moved, so maybe you got to remove him from that list. I just, we're going to hear until we get exactly from the word of mouth of Luka what is going on, what was happening behind the scenes. And I know he's been injured. He had a little bit of a calf, a little bit of a back issue, if I'm not mistaken. He was reportedly to return yesterday, so that kind of opened my eyes a little bit. Maybe this was happening in the last 72 plus hours. Again, there's no way this would have been taken any more than that because it would have seeped out. And
Jokic was the third one.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, that makes sense. All I know is that what's being put out there now, again, it's from the 76ers perspective in me, but let's just take it a step further from the standpoint of around the league and franchises that have never had a player of Luka's caliber in their existence. And he's 25 years old, Sean. And you would have him. I don't care if he rolls in and Luka is weighing 300 pounds. I don't care if he comes to the training facility with the 12-pack of Peroni. I don't care. And I mean this. We're all friends here. Like, he could have got a sex change. I don't care. Like, you don't again, from the 76ers perspective, we have dealt with so much with Joel Embiid, and like, you hang on to these guys. You do everything you possibly can to build around these guys. You can't allow these generational players to leave. And then to get what you got back, for crying out loud, the Lakers had 2 first-round picks. They didn't even get both of them.
Yeah.
How do you not even get both of those first picks? I just am losing my mind from the Mavericks standpoint. And then to trade him to the Lakers, of all places, dude, what are we doing here? That's what I'm saying. Like, am I wrong to think like a commissioner? I never thought a commissioner should get involved like that, but they do, and they did with Chris Paul. So how do you not get involved with this deal?
Yeah, I mean, Brace, if this had happened in one of our fantasy leagues, I think it gets vetoed straight up. And this is the real NBA that we're talking about right here. So I can't believe that like it is the case. And I'm seeing a couple of the comments. Shout out to Jay talking about comparing it to Embiid. I don't think it's the same thing because while Luka absolutely has his bumps and bruises, the dude has been available. Like, looking at the games played, he goes 72 games, 61, 66, 65, 66,
Saw
70.
that this morning.
Yeah, like, it's not like, and I get he's only played 22 this year. It does sound like he's ramping up and going to be back in like the short term. He's dealt with that calf issue. He did that on Christmas, obviously, and that's been something that he battled for the large part of the season. So he's not a model of availability, but it's not like this is a guy who isn't around. The fewest amount of games he played in his career is 61 in a season, which is perfectly acceptable for a superstar, to be honest. And like, he led the league in scoring last year, 33.9 points per game. He took this team to the NBA Finals. He's led the league in scoring in the playoffs in 2 separate seasons already, in 2020-21 with 35.7 points per game, and then 21-22 with 31.7 points per game. He truly is one of the greatest offensive talents in the sport. I understand that he leaves some to be desired on the defensive end, but that's the sacrifice you make for a star, that like you can find guys to fit around it. And Dallas has, like, let's not act like he's been impossible to play with. They have had guys that have fit perfectly with Luka. Dorian Finney-Smith may be like the biggest winner of all this on the Lakers now, because he's purely like a corner 3 catch and shoot guy, and he's not going to play next to the 2 greatest like corner 3 creators. I guess James Harden in the same category, but with LeBron and Luka there, like, Dorian Finney-Smith is absolutely going to be eating in this offense here. So I do think there's more movement coming, because both these rosters look a little incomplete based on how significant this shakeup is. A ton of front court down in Dallas with the Daniel Gaffords, the Derek Lively's, guys like that. And when you look at the Lakers, leave a lot to be desired at the front court spot now with no Anthony Davis. Rui Hachimura is likely going to, I guess, be their short-term starting center. They might even go with Jackson Hayes in that spot. The point being here that I think this is the start for both teams, that you got to do some pretty rapid roster construction. There's a lot that still has to go down, but I really can't believe that this happened. This is, I would say, by far the largest midseason acquisition ever in NBA history. I even might go as far as saying the largest overall acquisition. It's certainly the most shocking, in my opinion.
It's the craziest trade I've ever seen. Again, it's absurd, and it's so fascinating on so many levels. It's shocking, and from the standpoint, like, from 270, which is the Mavericks fat shaming Luka, trying to make defense wins championships, whatever they want to say. Like, this is just absurd on so many levels. He's 6'7", Sean. He's a big dude, right?
He might even be bigger than that.
Yeah. So I just think, okay, to Mark Henry Jr.'s point on our Gambler chat, he said there's something else that has to be happening, and that's what I was saying last night. I was scrolling one eye open at 1:00 in the morning. Something else had to happen. And it doesn't do us any, or we shouldn't sit here and guess at what that possibly could be. But, again, like, I just look at from a general manager's perspective, an ownership group, a coach's perspective, Kyrie Irving's perspective, like, dude, you can't move this guy. That's how crazy of a talent he is. And if he's 270 and say he's got a drinking problem because, the general manager went over there and took the beer out of his hand, whatever, and there's the picture of him on an off day. It's like, whatever, dude. Like you got to hang with this guy and work with him and give him that max deal and do not allow him to leave. And again, I don't want to be throwing things out there. I was just, having some fun with that. But regardless, unless somebody kidnaps somebody's family, I just don't see from the Mavericks perspective this being the right way to go about it.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think like he's the caliber of talent that you put up with basically whatever baggage is there. And as far as what has become public, it doesn't seem like any sort of baggage that I feel is legitimate. Like, sure that he's been banged up a little bit. Sure, there are some conditioning issues. Like, you look at him, he's pretty night and day different from a body perspective from when he first came into the NBA. But who isn't from when they were, 19 years old to 25? That things change with that. I don't know. The other point that I would kind of bring up in this, and like, if you're a Mavericks fan right now and you're kind of selling yourself on like this is our win now, go in move, I don't see any like debate in which moving on from Luka Doncic helps that. Like, yes, Anthony Davis is good. Yes, he provides another element, but you're talking about giving up a guy that at worst is one of the top 6 talents in basketball. So it does feel like there has to be more to the story than this. We can only go off what has been told publicly, and it seems like Luka is pretty much at the top of the list for being stunned about this. So I cannot believe this happened. He really is like one of those guys that I pictured playing in Dallas for the entirety of his career. I'll never forget, like, obviously there was the Dirk Nowitzki era in Dallas who was there for the entirety. And then there was that 1 year of overlap in which they played together. And I remember when Luka, the first time I watched Luka like get cooking, my brain was just like, wow, the Mavericks got another one. Like, this is their Dirk Nowitzki of this era. He's going to be there forever. And obviously that's not going to be the case. So I'm pretty stunned all around, still feeling that as my immediate reaction.
And now the Lakers get theirs, and we'll get into the Lakers again. I can't even talk about the Lakers at this point in time because it's maddening. It's fascinating. Like, I am a LeBron James guy, but here we go for that organization yet again. They got Shaq. We can go down the history of the changes that this team has been able to make. They got LeBron, and it's just like it constantly happens for the LA Lakers. Like I said, look around the league. How many teams out there have never had a star? And the Dallas Mavericks just said, you know what? We're good because we are 28-23 at the 8 seed. We went to the finals last year with Luka and would not have sniffed the NBA finals without him. But we're good. We need to win now. And Anthony Davis, who has been playing better, hasn't missed games last year.
He's currently out.
Yeah, he is currently out. Yeah. But last year, look, he came back. He's you can no longer call him street clothes Davis, right?
Sure.
Okay.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Luka, though, is just the story. And it's the Dallas Mavericks and what they're doing and what could be said to cushion the blow here. But at the age of 25, the things that you were reading about this guy right now, it's like, really? Is that true? 5-time All-Star, 5-time first-team All-NBA, Rookie of the Year. We know that. 3rd all-time in points per game, Sean. 3rd all-time. He is behind Wilt Chamberlain and Michael Jordan, 28.6, 422 games. You know who's 4th on that list?
Joel Embiid
at 27.8. Incredible stuff there. Unbelievable. Like, it just, if I'm a Dallas Mavericks fan, I'm demanding answers. I wake up and I am so just beyond reasonable that, like, you need to be at a podium at noon today. Hell, 11 cent. I need to hear from you right here, right now. And you better not hesitate with any of the details. If you're upset with Luka, because somebody pointed out that the Mavericks had to hate Luka to move him. Oh, yeah. They hate him so much that they shipped him off to LA. Sure. Almost to the point probably to say, do what you need. And we know that you're going to be a disaster out there with the LA nightlife. That's a part of me, either that or Miami. But, like, I need details. You cannot hold anything back. I want to know what he did, if he showed up, if you guys weren't going to sign that deal, if he demanded a trade request. What do you want to hear the first time that we hear from the Mavericks brass?
Yeah, well, for what I want and how I would handle it as an organization is I would not be doing those things. I think the quote about defensive first is like,
you're a Sixer guy.
Well, I think that's like, think about from another NBA player perspective. You're a potential star shopping your next locations and you watch just what happened. And what my kind of expectation is, we probably see some of these mudslinging stories leak out to reporters and we start to get some horror stories about Luka Doncic behind the scenes. I think that probably happens from here. But to take a step back and say, you're say, I don't know, pick a random star. You're Kevin Durant right now saying things aren't working out in Phoenix. I need to find a new location. What's appealing? look what just happened in Dallas, man. This guy was drafted, homegrown, has been everything the organization could have hoped for and more. Been a guy who on that same pathway to spend his entire career there and is holding up his end of the bargain as far as production. Sure, you can critique little things here and there. He's an incredible basketball player. And then you just ship him off really for no explanation and then take some shots on him at the door on his way going out. Like, I don't think talking about how, defense wins championships and things like that, like that's a slap in the face to me too, Luka Doncic. Sure, he's not going to be winning any all NBA team or all defensive teams. He's never going to be in the running for those type of things. But I do think it comes off like a little ungrateful and kind of underappreciative of what that guy brought to that organization. So I think it's a bad look from a Dallas Mavericks perspective, both the decision-making process and the way they're handling themselves. So I would tread very carefully at that podium if I'm Nico Harrison and having those conversations. I do think we start to hear some of these horror stories behind the scenes that they come out pretty quickly, especially if it's in a save face effort, which may be necessary at this point.
Good answer. No, you're right about that. Good answer. I'm letting a little bit of the aggravation kick in, and if you're a Mavericks front office member, general manager, whatever it may be, you're right. That's the way you need to handle this. Again, I don't want to move off the Dallas Mavericks until we cover everything. Dallas Mavericks, Luka, Maxi Kleber, Markieff Morris to the Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, 2029 first-round pick. 3-team deal that includes Utah. What else from the Mavericks perspective? What else from Nico GM's perspective? What else from Luka that we haven't hit here?
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, I don't quite see. It feels like they have to be a guy that they have waiting in the wing that they think can be that next dude. I don't know if Jaden Hardy's the guy that they have circled. Olivia Maxence Prosper has been solid in recent weeks, but really, I don't see like a next generation of young talent that they're could potentially build around. This is like a very win now move. And don't get me wrong, they're still gonna be a very good basketball team with Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis as kind of your headliners there. They do have other talent on that roster, so they'll be in the mix. But again, like I just don't think you get better moving on from Luka Doncic. And as great as Davis is, like I think we kind of saw the transition in Los Angeles when Anthony Davis was sent out there, that the game plan was essentially for him to take the baton from LeBron James and be really that guy in the organization. And while Davis has been very good overall, I don't think he's been quite that. I don't think he's been a 1A on that team, the bus driver, as that phrase has been thrown around. It's still been LeBron more so than not. And even with statistically Davis kind of surpassing him this season, a lot of games that still feel like LeBron is the complete engine of that team. So I think it's going to be the same story out there in Dallas, that like while Davis is an incredible talent, a guy who's a very good basketball player, I don't think he quite cracks that short list of can be the best player on a championship team. And I think Dallas is going to find that out. So again, I do think that there's going to be more shakeups because of this. Neither roster really makes sense to me. Like even just looking at like the Dallas roster, like now we're talking about Anthony Davis, PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, and Derek Lively all being like guys that deserve legitimate minutes at the front court spot. So I feel like at least one, possibly two of them are traded away for wings or guards as they try and make this kind of puzzle put together in the short term. I would be very interested in any of those names if they shake free. If I'm another team, PJ Washington, I think is a winner. Daniel Gafford, one of the best backup centers in the NBA, a guy that I would have my eyes on from a Sixers perspective if that's a conversation that comes on. So I still don't fully get it, still not fully wrapping my head around it, but for me, I think it does have to come down with they did not believe in the long term that Luka Doncic was the guy to get you over the top, and I think that's a pretty crazy calculation.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. There's definitely something else that has to be taking place before the trade deadline coming up here on the 6th. Any shot Paul George winds up in Dallas?
Yeah, I don't think so for that one. I am shocked. Like it felt like there's been all these, moving parts behind the scenes in the NBA. I'm shocked this didn't like impact any of like the De'Aaron Fox, the Jimmy Butler, the Bradley Beal, all those whispers that it feels like it's been waiting on this massive deal. I'm surprised this didn't bleed into that and become sort of one of these massive league altering deals. It still is from a two team perspective here, and the Jazz obviously get in the mix to make it happen. But I think we are due for there will be at least one more massive blow up around the league with some of the more, I guess, front-facing disgruntled names being in mind there.
Yeah, man. And even if you do believe in Kyrie, and I love Kyrie, he's 32, Anthony Davis, 31, right? Like we think of these guys as young bucks, and they are, as I'm an older gentleman here, but they've been in the league for a damn time. And you just moved a 25-year-old who, like I said, with that Supermax deal, Sean, was going to be under your roof for the next 5 years, probably more. And there's a good chance that you're flirting with another NBA Finals, a great chance that you can win a championship. I get it. If Luka's said, hey, don't sign me, don't sign me, don't sign me, I'm not signing. I just did not see that happening. We never heard that. Could that have been the case behind the scenes? We'll find out. I highly doubt it, because that's a question I would have for you. The Supermax that he was going to sign in this offseason with the Dallas Mavericks, 350.
Yeah. Yeah, around there.
And then if he doesn't sign that deal, how does that play out? Because this is a good, and if you don't know, I'm sorry, I'm pressing you here. But so if he says he's not up for a new contract point blank this offseason, correct? It's just an extension. He's still under contract for another year.
Yeah, so he's on the books for $43 million this year, and then 45.9 or 46 million next year. So he's had 2 years under contract, and then a player option for the 26-27 season. That would be for $48.9 million. So still under contract for those. The Supermax that they're discussing, and we kind of talked about this with the Jimmy Butler, Bradley Beal stuff, is the NBA heavily leans into rewarding players to stick with their original franchise. This is one of their ways they want to keep continuity, have guys, a little reward for sticking with that. So he can sign a higher value deal if he were to stick with the Mavericks or stick with that organization. That would mean for that process to go down, you opt out of the player option, which is the same process that Joel did with the summer with the Sixers. Essentially, it becomes, instead of being on the books for 2 years, it becomes 5 years. It's essentially that you sign, you chop the player option, add 3 more on top of it, and that is the Supermax there. That's what Luka would be looking down the barrel of. But for the time being, that he still has 2 years in a player option under contract, I would be shocked if there's too rapid of a process for that Supermax in LA, unless they just want to roll out the red carpet right away, which I would get that angle as well. I don't think Los Angeles can be shy to pay him this money, and nor should they. So, yeah, that's kind of the story of it here. But as things currently stand, he's still under contract for 2 years and a player option. If he does sign an extension, this likely turns into a 5-year contract with that player option chopped.
A lot of money, and I just don't see him saying, with the success that they have had, the moves that they have made, excuse me, that Luka would say, I'm out. Like, don't re-sign me, trade me. I don't know. We'll find out. I just don't think that was in the cards. This is like, if you could give me and we're going to move to the Lakers in just a second here, but give me your, I got one eye open. I'm looking at this. I got the magnifying glass. Like, I'm trying to figure it out. You're right now, your gut reaction on why this is taking place. Mine is that this general manager is had enough of Luka. The conversations have been there. He won't take it serious, and it's almost like a power play. Like, I'm the man. I'm the man here. I run this place. I just traded you. That's the ego. I think this is an ego more than anything, and that sucks to say from Dallas Mavericks fans' perspective.
And to be completely fair to Nico Harrison here, you watch a Mavericks game, you can see kind of what he means. You see Luka Doncic constantly complaining to referees, not getting back on defense. There's the injury concerns, him being banged up. You can see him kind of hobbling around the court often. I get where he's coming from. I just think that there's too much talent there not to overlook those kind of things, is how I sit on that. So I think the reality is, in his deep down in his heart, why he's doing this is he believes in setting the culture and having guys having the right outlook, right habits is more important. I personally philosophically disagree with that. You just can't teach talent in the way or the caliber that Luka Doncic is. And while he's not going to be the model for what you want a player to be on an every single night basis, I think it's enough to just overlook, keep grinding with it, and just, I mean, again, they went to the finals last year, man. This team is not far off. So I think there was something to having the Luka and Kyrie backcourt. I think they were getting a lot of successful play from their front court guys, the Gafford, the Liveleys, that all connected with this team. PJ Washington, a difference maker. I did not feel that this Dallas team was that far off. And even with them not being as high in the standings as a lot of us hoped, it's very clearly due to injuries, with both Kyrie and Luka missing time there. So I don't know. I think they pulled the plug on this entire experiment way too early. Again, one of the most shocking moves I can ever remember in all of professional sports. But yeah, I think he probably just got too sick with all the antics of Doncic, when I feel they are well worth putting up with it.
25 years old, all those accolades. And I just, again, 76er fan perspective, think about Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
And Luka.
James Harden, man. Another clear example, like James Harden, when you think about his prime Houston days, like this dude was out in the club till 1 a.m., taking private jets. And you know what? When he's winning MVP and leading your team to 60 wins in a season, you kind of just got to live with that. That's kind of the other situation that we're looking at here in Philadelphia is the Sixers certainly put up with plenty with Joel Embiid. Like, you are as important as your talent is. And when you can do things that other players cannot, you can get away with things that other players cannot. Like for Joel specifically, that's sort of the pushback we're seeing this season. Is it's one thing to overlook you being late for meetings or missing practice or things like that when you're scoring 70 points and being an MVP of the league. It's another thing when you're playing 13 of a possible 48 games, which has been the case this season for Joel. So like there's always this give and take when there are these elite talents, and that's not just basketball. That's really life. Like you look at you in your workplace, people that get away with things because they're excellent at their job or have been around forever. That's just how things work. It's not fair. It's how life works. But for Luka Doncic specifically, like he is that caliber of talent that you just deal with whatever this baggage is or whatever the complaints are. Obviously, Dallas does not view that the same way.
First time in NBA history, 2 reigning all NBA players have been traded for each other mid-season. That tells you how big this deal is. Yeah, and I think we're all in agreement there. The shock value, like the reactions we talked about at the beginning, people that were actually live. I watched this Locked On podcast at the Nuggets. I think it's one of the analytics guy, the HP guy, and he's like, that's hacked. That's 0.0% chance that happened. And then like, oh my God. Yeah, it happened, man. It happened. Again, I didn't think it was real either, but it's like, it's the league, it's the NBA. And this is when we talked about Jimmy Butler for Paul George. It's like, dude, if it could happen, it's the NBA. It would happen there. But we're putting that discussion to the side for now. All right. Let's get over to the Lakers side. I guess the question would be from the inside out. Again, Pelinka gets the phone call. And he's just like, is this real? Like, Luka Doncic could be available? Sure. You want Anthony Davis? Oh, I don't have to trade you LeBron. I don't have to give you a both. Like, yeah, okay. It's not even a question, right? Like, it's not even a question. To the point that, like, normally you would probably send over your security, sniff around here, questions there. Like, you don't even waste time with that. You say, yo, send over the deal, right?
Yeah, my guess was the conversation would be something along the lines of Dallas calls, say, hey, we're interested in Anthony Davis. Pelinka says he's completely untouchable. Get out of here. Dallas says, we'll send you Luka Doncic. And Pelinka goes, yep, he'll be there by the morning. It's kind of how my guess how that trade went there. So I would guess like they probably have a pretty high bar for Anthony Davis and wanted to keep him. But Luka Doncic is one of those guys where you get an opportunity at, you jump at it. So that's kind of my take there.
LeBron James didn't know. LeBron knew as soon as Pelinka figured that this was real.
I want to hear more about that because I am buying that this was a pretty came together incredibly quick. So I'm those interviews, the Luka interview, the LeBron interview, and the Anthony Davis interview, I'm honestly more interested to hear their perspective on it than I am either of the GMs. I want to hear what went through their brain.
Could you trade Anthony Davis even for Luka without telling LeBron James? Again, I think that this took place in 48 hours tops. 48 hours tops. This was this was before before the Knicks game at Madison Square Garden. Pelinka obviously had that conversation probably the day before, the night before, whatever it may be. And did he ask LeBron? Did he say something to LeBron before the game? I just find it hard to believe that you could even make that move without saying something to LeBron. But regardless, I'm not trying to get caught up in that. Who cares? Like, look, it's the NBA. Anything is possible. I think LeBron would say, yeah, it's Luka.
Yeah, my guess would be they've had conversations like behind the scenes throughout the years as far as like all right, how do you feel about Anthony Davis? Is he truly like the guy? Is there any players that we would look to potentially upgrade with? I would be kind of surprised if in last night's specific situation there was directly, as was reported, LeBron at dinner with family, if there was the call saying like, hey, cool if we do this. And to be honest, like while LeBron is still very clearly the face of the Lakers, I don't think decisions are fully being made as far as what is best for him in the same way has always been the case. Now, granted, they drafted his son. They brought in JJ Redick. There's plenty of other situations where like you can see the evidence there. But I think we're starting to see, and I think the same thing's happening in Golden State, where the organizations are having that look in the mirror of like, this guy is not going to be forever. Like, we have to think about us just as much as we're thinking about, doing what's best for them or doing right by them. So this is absolutely the right move from a Lakers perspective to add a 25-year-old superstar, a guy that's going to be a perennial MVP candidate. You can't say no to that. So even if that meant, like, if LeBron was a little upset by it, which I think is probably unlikely anyway, and we haven't heard from him yet, like, you just do it. You rip the Band-Aid off and then you deal with it later. You ask for forgiveness, not permission in this case from the Lakers organization, and I think it's a slam dunk for them.
Yeah, that's it. I saw people talking about anything and everything, from LeBron and the Lake, and it's just like, guys, this isn't even a second thought. It's like, yeah, send over the contract. I'll sign on immediately. If you haven't been paying attention, Lakers had a big time win on the road at MSG. LeBron drops a triple double without Anthony Davis last night. They're 28-19, currently in the 5 spot. The Dallas Mavericks are holding the 8 seed, 26-23. Disappointing start, but again, it's not even the All-Star break, not even the trade deadline. Plenty of basketball to be played, and to make up that ground, how far could they have went? Don't know, but regardless, the trade has been made. So here we are. From the Lakers' perspective, Sean, you say you get Luka back. Again, the rumors were out there that he was going to join the team last night in Dallas. Say you get Luka back by trade deadline. What are we talking about with this Lakers team? They got to get the chemistry going. They got to get the vibes going. Of course, take a little bit of hit on the defensive side. Are they a better team? Does JJ Redick now just absolutely look at this as this is an incredible opportunity to go win it all? Like, where are you at right now with this Lakers dynamic with the addition of Luka? And again, he's healthy. Let's just have the hypothetical discussion. He joins the team later this week.
Yeah, I mean, in the long run, I think they absolutely got better. I do think it's going to be a tough second half of the season for making this work. From a pure basketball fit perspective, it isn't the cleanest with Luka Doncic and LeBron James, that both these guys are more comfortable with the ball in their hands. Both guys are incredibly creative and excellent at creating looks for others as well as for themselves and attacking. Neither one of them are, I guess, particularly effective off-ball movers, and I would put Luka right at the bottom of that list when kind of ranking things out there. So there's going to be some growing pains as far as making the things work. I was actually watching Front Office Sports. Shout out to Keith Smith, who was doing a breakdown of this last night, and he said he texted with one of the NBA GMs when this happened, and the reply was like, there are some concerns about the duo of Luka Doncic and LeBron James working. But if it's Luka Doncic, you figure it out. And I do think that is like the correct mindset there. So I think for this season, probably my optimism for this Lakers team probably shrinks a little bit. Although I think Luka is a brilliant basketball player and LeBron obviously is. So like maybe they can get it work at a quicker rate than I'm expecting. There will be some growing pains with making this work. And again, I think they have to finish out the roster that, as is currently the case, is not good enough to compete or is not well-rounded enough to compete, that there are some holes at the front court spot and they got to make a couple shakeups to make it work. But the bottom line is Luka Doncic and LeBron James sharing the floor together, they're going to do something pretty special and figure it out.
All right, Western Conference odds right now, DraftKings Sportsbook, Thunder plus 115 to win the West, Nuggets plus 650, Lakers plus 950, Grizzlies 10-1. Shame on me because I did not know the number. Do you know the number off the top of your head? Did we have any shift of the odds? I'll have to look that up. But I didn't know the number coming in as we were about to go live at 9:00. So I would love to know what happened to the odds there from the standpoint of any movement. Joe Tanzi checking in though via the Gambler chat and wondering whether or not today the Mavs are a auto fade in Cleveland. They're catching 13. What do you say to that, Sean, at 340 today?
Yeah, I do think I think the Cavs are the move there.
Yeah.
As far as DraftKings Sportsbook odds, the Lakers are now plus 2,000 to win a championship. I'm seeing they're plus 3,500 before this. So kind of surprised at that significant move. Yeah. Assuming this is all accurate. It's from Evan Sidri on Twitter here. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So it looks like they're behind the Thunder, Celtics, Knicks, Cavaliers, Nuggets, and then Lakers. So climb to 6 there.
Hey, you know what? Pump the brakes, people. Pump the brakes, public.
Yeah.
No, hell no. Hell no. Again, like we've been here and done this. When you put these dream teams together, it takes time. It takes time. And Luka coming up with that injury out in LA, his head's spinning. I do know this much. Whatever the number is when he goes back to Dallas, I'll take the over. Oh, yeah. That I do know.
70. He might go for 70.
That I do know. And LeBron's going to continue to just feed him. He will be unstoppable in that game. But regardless. All right. It's crazy because last night when we were in the chat, like we were singing praises for JJ Redick. He's coached really well this year. I got to give him credit. It seems like he's getting his message across, trying to build culture. Again, it takes time, and I feel like he's done very well with the short time that we've had so far. And now this changes things up. What's JJ Redick saying this morning?
I guess my job's safe for a little bit is probably my outlook there. I still feel I think JJ has cemented my belief that he's going to be a good NBA head coach, and he absolutely is ready for this type of challenge. But as far as the situation as a whole, I felt kind of the same as I did coming into the season, that they tried to do a Band-Aid fix to a roster that needed more help to this just by changing coaches. And to me, the root of the struggles or the concerns with this Lakers team was well below coaching. Like flashback to last season, Darvin Ham was a problem with this Lakers team, but he was not the problem. And I think Redick deserves a lot of credit for getting the Lakers where they are. I mean, just looking at them right now, they're in 5th place in the West with a 28-19 record. That is pretty good compared to how deep the West is, how many teams. Like, think about teams like the Clippers, the Timberwolves, the Mavericks, the Suns, the Warriors, all below them in the rankings there from a record and standing standpoint. So I think from the long run, Redick's going to have his hands full trying to figure out how to make all this work. For this season, it's going to be a bit of a grind trying to, jam it in and make things work at an accelerated rate. I think that in the overall theme of this, my concern for them not having enough top-end talent or being a championship caliber roster from that standpoint has been addressed, that you now found a way to move upward with that. But Luka Doncic is not a guy that you can just plug and play into a team. He changes everything. He is the system, as the phrase would go there. So there are going to be some notable changes. Redick's going to have his hands full moving forward, but he's done an excellent job to this point.
I didn't see this, excuse me, but apparently Ramona Shelburne said 2:30 this morning, Kyrie Irving was also stunned by the trade. I'm told he was doing a training session in Cleveland when he saw the news come across from Shams. It's a pretty late training session, but who am I to judge when you're a professional athlete? Your hours are not the same. But still, okay. So that is intriguing there. And again, I can't wait to get all these reactions. Speaking of reactions, it was pretty crazy to see the teams on the floor. What was it? The Trailblazers and the Suns, and they're passing around the phone. And of course, Durant. Yeah, Durant's the one with his phone of all people. And he had some comments, and he's like saying that, it just shows you that, the players are held to a different standard. Like teams are going to do teams. Without teams, the league doesn't exist. I get it. Players are the almighty be all here, no doubt about it. But like the teams are the league. The league is based off of the teams. So yeah, they're going to have the upper hand no matter what. Loyalty, like, okay, dude, it's not. No one ever said there was loyalty. I get it. Yeah, it's business, right? And then he also did have some things said that and I'm paraphrasing here, of course, that he said, well, it just makes it possibly this is the biggest trade he's ever been involved in since the league, or he's seen since he's been in the league, and that he thinks that it might push some teams out there to say, you know what, screw it, let's go. We don't have what it takes to win it. Let's get rid of these pieces. Let's make some moves. So maybe we see a little bit more fire coming up here on February 6th for the trade deadline. Do you think we'll see some more trades, some crazy trades? Not like on this caliber, do you think it's going to be an aggressive trade deadline here?
I do. I think we'll see some sort of Jimmy Butler shakeup that I can't imagine this drags on at the spot that we're currently at with that. I think it's more likely than not that De'Aaron Fox has moved, and there's going to be a lot of teams that need to help facilitate that, and obviously be it takes 2 or usually 3 to tango these days for a trade to actually go down. So I do think there'll be some fairly seismic moves around the league. From a Sixers perspective, I don't have as high of hopes there. That I think it'll probably be a couple smaller moves. But as a whole, this does feel like the first domino. We were waiting on Jimmy Butler to really stir up the trade pot. Well, the Lakers and Mavericks did it themselves and got the ball rolling there. So I do think that we're in for an exciting week across the association.
In-N-Out Burger tweeting out, welcome to California, Luka. And the great Stephanie Smalls, like, man, getting traded in the NBA is the easiest thing. All you gotta do is get fat. And again, he's 6'7". Yeah, he's 6'7" plus 270. I get it. Maybe that's not ideal. I don't know what ideal weight would be for him, but like what a talent he is. And I refuse to believe that that's the end all be all, that we got to move Luka at the age of 25, because my man ballooned up to 270 since he's been off since Christmas. I'm not going to buy that. I think that there's been plenty of other things taking place behind the scenes, butting of the heads, frustration, probably some things said, And you just have a general manager in Dallas that's saying, I'm bigger than you, and I'm going to build it my way. And I just think, man, it's not going to work out for him. I guess we didn't even get into that, Sean. Yeah, we did, actually. We talked a little bit about the future for the Dallas Mavericks this year, but from the odds perspective, where they're at, any idea what their number did since the trade there? And for the conference, currently the Dallas Mavericks are 15-1 to win the West. To win it all, the Dallas Mavericks are holding steady at 35-1. Like we went over, they're in the 8th seed right now, but is there, from the Mavericks perspective, are they somebody that we should look at and possibly say that, you know what, like this was a team that actually beat the Oklahoma City Thunder a few times this year. This was supposed to be the team that was going to give the Thunder the biggest run for their money if they matched up in the playoffs. And now you just took the biggest piece away from that team. So are we still looking at the Dallas Mavericks in the same light?
Yeah, clearly not. The odds would suggest not. As the move in the exact opposite direction here, going from plus 1,800 before the trade to plus 4,000 as far as the championship odds go. That's a steep fall off, and one that if you're a general manager, I get that you're not making decisions based on betting odds, but that kind of tells the story there of looking yourself in the mirror. Again, I think it's really telling that the initial reaction from just about everyone is that Shams must have gotten hacked here. This can't be a real trade. I have a hard time imagining, if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, like how you can like get up and be excited about this team moving forward. Because I do feel like this is one of those trades that has the potential to derail a franchise. Now, granted, if they're competitive, if Kyrie and Anthony Davis can click in the short term and you get a little spark, maybe you can talk yourself into that. When you look towards the future, with Anthony Davis being 31, Kyrie being 32, not a lot of draft capital moving forward. I know the Thunder have their 2026 pick. I believe they have a couple other picks traded out past that point. There's just not that much room for hope, I feel. Luka is one of those guys that gives you a chance every single year. The Mavericks are going to have to find another one once this era of, Kyrie and Anthony Davis ends. They're going to have to find another face of the franchise because they just gave theirs away.
LeBron James, man, he's had an incredible career. And last night he said this simply, it's not the end. We knew that. And if somebody deserves a swan song, it's him, the final tour. Damn it. If LeBron James doesn't get a final tour, then the final tours need to stop and all leagues, point blank. So I didn't think he was going to retire this year anyways. Last night after the game, I thought it was a great question, great answer. He opened up, very cool. Again, got a triple-double at the age of 40. He's just insane. So you knew LeBron was coming back next year, but this move, LeBron might play till he's 44, 43. Like this is
clearly
insane.
Still can play. So yeah, it's up to him on that. And if
Father time happens really fast.
Sure, but I mean, you watch him last night, man. He's looking pretty terrific to me still. I get
no
he doesn't
argument.
have his fastball every night the way he once did, but like he was the best player on the floor last night in that Knicks and Lakers game, like very clearly, much better than anyone on the Knicks and really carrying that Lakers team. Like triple-double in Madison Square Garden, had 33 points. He was awesome last night. So it's like, I get it. Like, sure, obviously the story has to end at some point and, father time catch up to anyone. I just really do not see it with LeBron right now. Like he looks like he can still play. I do wonder how much this carries out or how much this impacts the calculation. You also could make the case like now there's someone to very clearly pass the baton to, so maybe he can rest easier about that or whatever the case may be. But, I mean, if LeBron wants to keep playing, he absolutely will. And if I know anything about LeBron James through the time that he's been in the NBA, he will not retire without there being that swan song or final dance or, receiving his flowers from every organization. So I would be pretty shocked if this is his last year playing basketball for those specific reasons.
Mahomes is a Dallas Maverick fan, isn't he?
I believe so. Yeah, he's there a lot.
He's from there. He tweeted out, something along the lines of Kyrie and AD going to be nice though. Yeah, all right. Like it's not about that. And the odds perspective is everything. Like you just said, that's really bad for the odds to sink like they did. And for this general manager to think that that's the right move. Again, we will hold and wait till all the details are released, and then we can unleash fury at the direction of Nico and the people who signed off that for the Dallas Mavericks. But right here, right now, this is a one-sided deal, and the Lakers ended up getting another superstar. And this might be like LeBron was a little bit late in his career. Shaq was the next. Yeah, Shaq was prime. So there's no arguing that. But this is just, another chapter in the Lakers book that is just incredible. And I get it. It's LA. They've built up such an unbelievable franchise out there, and it's a great place to live. And I get all that. But man, you look around the league and some of these franchises have just never had a player on any of those caliber. And here we are with the Lakers getting LeBron and Luka together. We'll see how that one plays out. All right.
We'll
45
bookmark this right
Yeah.
now, but I would say if we were to fast forward to the end of Luka Doncic's career, I think there's a real chance we're having discussions of this guy as like a top 10 player of all time. Or when you look at what his accolades are going to be, think about how accomplished he is at 25 years old that you
Right now.
mentioned for all the same reasons. That he's a 5-time All-Star, has won the scoring title already, been a Western Conference MVP, 5-time All-NBA player, and now he gets to put on the purple and gold stripes that help with all of your, media, the way you're talked about, I guess, is the perception of that there. He is that caliber of talent. He's going to have every platform to show this now. I think, I'm not going to say he was underrated because everyone knows who Luka Doncic is at this point, but now being played for one of those franchises where you're going to be viewed as a primetime option on an every night basis on TV, I think Luka Doncic is going to be thrown in some pretty lofty conversations in the not too far future. And his best days of basketball could very well still be ahead of him, which is a scary thought.
Yeah. Sean, this is probably the best thing for him.
Yeah.
Again, we don't know what took place behind the scenes, right? But if you are moving him, something was happening there. And because you just don't trade that guy. And now you're going to send him to LA. And it could go either way because LA nightlife, you're going to be able to find whatever you want. You are the eyes, you're the focal point. The Dodgers are really good. Other than that, it's the Lakers. But man, if you're Luka, they just shipped your ass out. And
yeah,
that's got to register. It has to register in some way. If it doesn't, then shame on him because he is such an unbelievable talent. But he's 25. Dude, your body isn't going to break that. What is he doing? What's he doing behind the scenes for you to be you know what? His body's going to break down in the next 3 years. No, it's not. This dude's going to be able to play for the next 10 plus seasons.
Yeah.
Just insane that the Mavericks traded him. Insane.
I can't believe it. And I guess the only other thing I'll throw in is I'm trying to be fair to the Mavericks, even though I just outwardly disagree with just about the entire thought process that led to this. Luka is a guy who's been playing professional basketball since I believe he was 14, at least 16, that he won an MVP in overseas and playing for one of the better leagues in the world. So the wear and tear is slightly different. And I would say, your average 25-year-old. With that being said, I still think that's an insane reason to give up on him based on the level that he is performing when he is on the floor there. So I don't know. I do think we're going to hear some horror stories leak out, a little bit of a saving face type storylines that are breaking out of here. But one of the craziest trades in all of sports history. And I think that Dallas is going to be reaping the results of this for a long time to come.
Fun hour here, Sean. Great stuff. Can't thank you enough. Let's go. We got a busy week with everything with the Super Bowl and, of course, the trade deadline. So we're going to be after it this week on The Gambler. Looking forward to covering all of that with you. Once again, you can find Sean Barnard, Sean_Barnard1. Does a great job with the folks over at DraftKings. So be sure to check out all of his content at dknetwork.com, as I will as well. And just a programming note, if you're watching right now, I'll be joining Tim Murray on VSiN coming up at 11:15. He just tweeted out the Rolodex for his show coming up here. He's got great Jonathan Von Tobel off the jump here at 10:15. JVT knows a lot about hoops, so looking forward to catching that. I'll be joining him at 11:15, and then the little headline. It says, "Will Saquon run over the Chiefs defense?"
I like it.
What do you say to that, Sean?
I think absolutely. I was saying this with Mark Henry Jr. yesterday. This streak, this stat running around about the Chiefs not allowing a 100-yard rusher since 2018 in the playoffs, that goes down this Super Bowl. That Saquon is absolutely going to snap that. I think you can basically pencil him in for 100 on a weekly basis at this point. That is a low bar. His prop is, I want to say, 15 yards higher than that. I think 115.5 was the last time I checked that. So I think that streak goes to die, and that the Saquon is a large part of the difference maker for this Eagles team compared to the last go around against this Chiefs team. Yes, they're good against stopping the run, but I don't think the Eagles can be shy about putting the ball in his hands there. So I do think Saquon does break that record and is a key part of this Eagles victory.
Yeah, right there with you. More and more as we inch closer, the bravado is starting to come out of me, and it might
Love
be
it.
wrong at the end, but I do love the fact that this team they're going to win the Super Bowl. The Eagles are winning on February 9th.
Love it.
All right, Sean, can't wait, man. Frank checking in. I would trade Embiid plus for Luka. Yeah, Frank, so would I.
But the crazy part about it is, like, I think every team kind of feels that way. Like, if they were to actually hit the open market and say, we're thinking about trading Luka Doncic, that at minimum, you would get an offer far better of what you just accepted. I get that Anthony Davis is a difference maker, but we're talking about, like, Mikal Bridges got 5 first-round picks this summer, and you're telling me for Luka Doncic, this is what you walked away with? So I do think, like, I understand trying to keep it under wraps, keep this process smooth, but if they had actually gone to the full scale, like, send us your best offer, they could have fetched far more than what the offer that was accepted there. So Dallas going to have to look themselves in the mirror on that one.
Rudy Gobert, Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverley, Leandro Balmaro, Walker Kessler, who is the 22 pick in the draft, Jared Vanderbilt, 2023 first-round pick, 2025 first-round pick, 2026 pick swap, 2027 first-round pick, 2029 first-round pick. It starts and ends there. That's where we start. That's it. So, Frank, yes, I think we're all on the same page with you. And we just did a full hour. I invite you to go back. Great stuff from Sean Barnard's perspective. And my passion was there. So it's well worth your time to go back and watch. Sean, great stuff. I'll catch up with you a little bit later. Always a pleasure, sir.
Absolutely.
All right. Once again, if you miss anything, at FoxPHLGambler.com.